the Shoah or the Holocaust is unforgivable. And Derrida reviews a couple of Jewish philosophers who say that they will never forgive the Shoah because it is unforgivable. And for this congregation, as the reading selection today hinted for us, it will be surprising to know for some of you that the very first time in the Bible the word forgive was used was in Genesis chapter 50. So Adam and Eve never asked for forgiveness. They knew they deserved their punishment. They said they were naked. Cain didn't ask for forgiveness, nor was he given one. Even though they were shown mercy, because Cain wasn't given the capital punishment. Abraham slept with a maid and said it was his wife's idea. Just imagine that happening today. When your wife tells you, go ahead, it means don't you dare. And to prove that Sarah was pissed off with him, as soon as Ishmael was born, she sent the baby away with the baby. And Abraham didn't ask for forgiveness. Abraham also went ahead by trying to sacrifice Isaac to prove that his faith in God and obedience. Now that was a powerful test of faith. And Abraham is honored for doing that. But any father who attempts that stance today, that kid is dialing 911 on you. Abraham tried to intercede for the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, but their pride was too offensive to God. That was their number one sin, pride. And Abraham couldn't find more than one person who was righteous in order to save the whole nation. So when those angels visited Lot and stayed with him, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah said they wanted to know them. You know what the Bible means by know. And Lot, some kind of father, came out to them and said, leave my guests alone. I'll give you my two daughters, my two beautiful daughters. You can have them. Huh. And he didn't ask for forgiveness for such an outrageous statement from a father. But the people of Sodom and Gomorrah said, no, we want those beautiful visitors. Those are the ones we want to know. So the visitors came out and said, you want a piece of me? And they all went blind. The wife of Lot was not spared when she looked back with perhaps a mother's feeling and some degree of regret that all those beautiful men were going up in smoke. And she was turned into a pillar of salt. Lot himself said that his daughters spiked his drink and knew him so they can have babies. Nasty stuff. And he never asked for forgiveness. Well, those are just a few examples from the Old Testament, and then we go forward to Egypt in Africa, where the word forgiveness was used first in the Bible with relation to somebody in authority exercising power, exercising authority. And that was Joseph, forgiving his brothers for having sold him into slavery and telling them that it was always God's wish that he be in Egypt, that God used their sinful heart to work a miracle for the people of Israel. So it is a merciful God, but human beings tend not to be as merciful. So the mercy that was shown to Joseph after he was accused of sleeping with the wife of the general, the army general, the army general locked him up and forgot about him. No way. It was mercy. Here in America, African Americans were lynched just for looking at a white woman. I talk much, how much more your beloved wife telling you that this man took advantage of her while you were not home. At the very least, that army general would have chopped off those nuts that Reverend Jesse Jackson said he was going to chop off from Obama for talking down to black people. But he spared Joseph because it was a culture that values forgiveness. So even when Moses killed a law enforcement officer and fled, had his picture on FBI's Most Wanted, he had the cheek to walk right back to the White House armed with nothing but a big stick and stood there before the equivalent of the president of the country to say, "Let my people go." Huh? No apology that you killed a police officer? Can you imagine that happening in America today? This at least will be in Guantanamo Bay. But he was forgiven by the Pharaoh. As if killing a police officer and not apologizing wasn't bad enough, Moses embarked on biological and chemical warfare against the people of Egypt. Plagues upon plagues. Until the very last plague, when all the firstborn in Egypt were killed in one night. War. And still, the Pharaoh said, "Okay, that's it. I had enough. You guys get out of here." That was it. No punishment. Nobody was hanged. That was it. So that's an indication to us that the tradition of forgiving is a very ancient one, although in Africa, although Derrida didn't go as far back as that. Derrida took us to South Africa to look at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that was set up by Nelson Mandela after 27 years in prison, unjustly for calling for equality for all of God's children in South Africa. Bill Clinton said that when he went to South Africa to visit Mandela, he challenged Mandela to say, "But you are a human being. Don't tell me that you don't have a little bit of anger against the people who did all this to you." And Mandela said to him that loving all of God's children is part of what makes him human, and therefore he cannot let anybody take that away from him. And he turned to Clinton and said, "Neither should you." And Clinton said that his jaw dropped. Derrida used the example of apartheid to teach us that there are certain things that are unforgivable because apartheid was a crime against humanity. But people in South Africa appear to have forgiven even the unforgivable. They didn't seek to put people in prison for crimes of apartheid. They just said, "Let us reconcile and forgive what happened in the past and move forward." This is an ancient story from Africa, and there is a story known as the story of the eloquent peasant who was robbed by a rich person who tortured him after robbing him. But he didn't seek revenge. He only sought justice by returning his stolen wealth to him, but he didn't seek to have the wealthy man jailed or executed. Forgiveness runs in the African tradition. If we go to the novel of Toni Morrison for more examples, a novel that was set in the civil rights movement is Song of Solomon. And in that novel, you see Macon dead and his sister Pilate watched their father shot dead by white neighbors who stole their farmland. But the children appear to have forgiven the people who killed their father, yet they couldn't forgive one another. Macon dead never reconciled with the sister because the sister scared him away from the gold pouch of an old man that Macon murdered.